this way, good soul. When I was a kid, living in Placentia, California, my sister started up an argument with me. She's younger than me. I'm the oldest child, so all my siblings are younger than me. I don't remember what the fight was about, but she was losing the argument because we both knew what happened. And then, so that she could win the argument, she lied. This was the first time in my life that I had been exposed to someone who knowingly lied to win an argument. Now, I was just a kid, but it shocked me. It was my own sibling, my own sister. She's Mormon, as I was Mormon. We were forced to be Mormon. We were born and raised into it. Where we were taught in primary not to lie. And here my sister was lying to me to win an argument. That shocked me. She then stormed off. And I to this day do not understand why people think that lying makes them the winner of an argument. I'm baffled. It's not comprehensible. It does not compute. I can understand doing it, but I can't understand why a person would think that they're justified, that they go away thinking they've won the argument because they lied, knowingly lied. The lawsuit by James Huntsman that broke the news yesterday, in which I'm very disappointed I couldn't get enough views. It should have been a breakout video. But Eric Hawkins, the spokesman for the church, outright lied in his statement by the church. If you didn't know, he does not quote the words of the church. He's like the spokespeople for Trump, for the press conferences that they used to have until the press were on to them and Trump refused to have them speak to the press anymore. They're just supposed to give a position as a fellow Mormon to lie to the public. That's what a spokesman is nowadays. And Eric Hawkins, Mormon, lied to defend the church and the church's position. All Mormons know tithing is not a voluntary donation. You know it. And yet, Fox 13 News Utah found a lawyer from another university outside of Utah, and he confessed to being a Mormon. Fox 13 News Utah, did you set that up? But he himself lied as a lawyer, lied, saying that James Huntsman has no claim because tithing is a voluntary donation. Unbelievable that Mormons would lie. The Huntsman, James Huntsman, Eric Hawkins, the lawyer, even Bob Evans, who was, he was the anchor covering the story. He was recently called as a stake president, or in the stake presidency, out in his ward. I saw the listing of new stake presidents. Was found him, Bob Evans. They all lie to protect the church. They're lying to the public, lying to the world to protect the church, calling tithing a voluntary donation. And if you're going to insist on lying to me in a hate comment, you can't lie to me. I was born and raised Mormon, remember? I told you in the beginning of this video, if you haven't seen any of my other videos. And in Mormon doctrine, in the afterlife, where does the liar go? Nope, not to hell. Although the Book of Mormon does mention that in the spirit world, yes, you do go to hell. You get thrust down to hell. You go to the third degree, the third glory, with the adulterers and the murderers, the telestial kingdom. That's how serious lying is in the church. Whether you believe in the afterlife of the Mormonism or not, it doesn't matter. Who cares? But it's taken seriously on earth. You don't lie. We all know, as missionaries, when a couple wants to join the church, we've done our investigated lessons, and it's time for baptism. What has to be done first? They have to be interviewed by the zone leader. Zone leader interviews them. He asks them the standard temple recommend questions. Are you willing to pay a full tithe, or are you already paying a full tithe? Technically, you have to do it after, but just like church attendance, they want you to start paying tithing before you become a member to show that you're willing to do it. It's not voluntary. If you say, no, I don't want to pay tithing, you don't become a member. That doesn't indicate voluntary. If you stop paying your tithing as a member, you don't get a calling in the church. You don't get the priesthood. You don't advance in the priesthood. You don't go on a mission. You don't go through the temple. You don't get exalted. How is that voluntary again? Where your eternal exaltation is conditional upon payment. How is that voluntary? It's called fire insurance among Mormons because of a misunderstanding of Malachi that Lorenzo Snow made to the St. George people, called the Windows of Heaven talk. Malachi said, bring all your tithes into the storehouse. Storehouse? Oh, well, obviously that's the Church Investment Corporation. Seriously? Tithing was supposed to pay for the poor, so that they're not poor, so they get lifted out of poverty. That was the old practice that Malachi is talking about. And the church, nope, goes to build temples, churches, print Book of Mormons, and 10% is taken into the investment for the stock market and other investments. So there's the main savings investment, which was $150 billion when the whistleblower talked about it in 2019, and then $40 billion for a stock portfolio. Last year, they profited off of your infection and death with $6 billion and an increase in the stock market for just enzyme peak associates. And then the interest, yeah, it was $7 billion out of $150 billion, and then increases as the amount increases, plus the amount of extra tithing that gets put in, which is $7 billion. So technically my count of 170 billion is inaccurate. It's more like around 180 billion. They're closer to 200 billion for just that one account. 200 billion. One account. That's not the City Creek Mall account, with the money they get from that. Plus the other accounts, fast offerings, which is what goes to the poor, but that's voluntary. Taking care of the poor is voluntary for Mormons. Paying tithing is not. All Mormons know this. And yet, Mormons are coming to the rescue of the church with lies. I'm disgusted. I don't know why you aren't. I don't know why you, as a Mormon, are not hanging your head in shame, thinking that the church is true because you're lying about them. It's disgusting.